go about planting new churches. So we have the leader of the group, Brother Stephen, to make a presentation on a research that he made. The church continues to grow through sound research. All right, so our dear brother, please do educate us.
So my name is Stephen Osifodo, and this is the report from Reverend Dr. John Awuku-Gyampoh, and the assessor is Reverend R.K. Awuku-Gyampoh, and it is on identify practical ways evangelist Douglas Mills used to establish his churches. And these are just the steps given to me by Reverend Dr. Awuku-Gyampoh. So they organized breakfast meetings for the elders in the community, introduced themselves to the chief and the elders in the community, and indicated their intention to start a church. And then they rented a classroom in a local primary school. They carried out weekly evangelism on Saturdays, and then they had dawn broadcasts as well. Then they organized youth programs and also started children's service. And the trick they used was that they served breakfast to those kids, which then, when the kids go home, they talk to their parents and say, hey, we were giving food. And that attracted the parents to also come to the church. And one other thing they did was they sometimes paid school fees for some of the kids, and they also taught them themselves when they could. And then they appointed helpers to help them do the work of God. Then they organized crusades. They organized camp meetings for the helpers. And then he says, whilst he was still the head pastor for Damfa, he started new branches with some shepherds, and then he left them to continue with the church after 6 months. So this was what he did. He gave some books, he referenced some books for me to go take a look at. And the books are The Mega Church by Douglas Mills, Church Planting by Douglas Mills, and Church Growth, It Is Possible by Douglas Mills. And these are the 10 steps listed in the books. Count the cost. Do not become desperate, especially financially. And he says, even if you have 2 or 3 people, it is enough to start the church. And don't be in a hurry. So just take things slow, and then pray for, and then recruit people who will help you to get the church going. And then you lay a foundation of prayer. Then you are supposed to be a motivational leader. And all these are in 1 Samuel 36, Job 8:7, and Ephesians 2:20. And one thing he said we should take note of is avoid hurriedly appointing people into leadership positions. So you have to make sure that there are people who can really stand when you are not available to help get the church going. You need helpers. but get people who can really help you. People of sound mind and of sound Christian beliefs. Those are the people that you need.
Wow.
Then you need a constitution.
That's a great research.
And the constitution is what will guide you all on a straight line. So you know exactly what you are doing and what your goal is, what you should be doing and what you should not be doing. And then last but not the least, do not be discouraged because of an irrational shift of the members. So if you begin with, say, a lot of people come one time and the following week they don't come, or the following few weeks, months, you still have just a few people, don't be discouraged. And that as time grows, your members will grow. So, but my source was Reverend Dr. John Okwesi Atta, head pastor of the Macarius Church in Shiashi, Lighthouse Group of Churches. Thank you.
Wow.
I'm going to present the other one too.
Wow. Wow. What a brilliant search. What a brilliant search. What a brilliant search. So friends, you can see that our brother has done a great job. He has really gone deeper into it. And I surely, as I was just listening, God was just giving me another revelation into this whole assignment. I'll pray about it and let it come out. I'll pray about it and let it come out. All right. Yeah.
Baba, are we supposed to do both or just one?
Once, as I said, no, either of them is, but let's listen to this one too.
Yes,
No.
yes. I just want to make sure that
So
I haven't done my homework.
Once you listen to the two sides, if you have done, as I said, try to merge. That makes you a researcher. So once you listen, you try to merge, and then you try to say, okay, this point is for party A. That point belongs to party B, and gradually you'll be able to go. So let's listen. I'm enjoying his presentation.
And so this is also by Reverend Dr. Mensa Otabil, and the pastor who gave the information is Pastor Kobna Forson. And below are the steps that he used. It says one major step to look out for when you want to start a church is the location you intend to start a church. And then when you find a community, you start a church by organizing a fellowship of prayer meetings at a park or any place available just to gather the people. And then identify the catechist, caretaker, or pastor who will lead a church. And then he or she must know how to perform basic Christian tasks like praying, witnessing, evangelism, and how to follow up on new converts. Then you plan for fundraising to help fund the startup cost of the new church. Build a team to start a new church. And you can approach the use of door-to-door church where you go to them in their homes to share the gospel to them and inform them of where they can find you in your church structure. You can also start online service by informing your followers of your location where they can find your branch of church. And then understand that banners, billboards, signboards are necessary to have it mounted where you want and are coming to start a church or branch in the community. Then you create a network for your members because the membership will grow by the relationships of the members. Because families, when people come, they will go and bring their friends, they will go and bring their other relatives. So make sure that those people to also form groups when they come to the church. And then encourage members to reach out to their families and friends. And then you send invitation letters to their community. So this is what, this one is from Reverend Parks Kobna Folsom. Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm pretty sure that the class heard it correctly, and they can see and you can feel that it is indeed a research work. A research work. Thank you so much for having the church at heart and for going beyond. Of course, if you had left me, perhaps I wouldn't have gone into this material that you have. So it's a corporate work. Thank you so much. We don't have any question for you because the slides are just self-explanatory, self-explanatory. And I've enjoyed reading it so much. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. All right. Let's go to the next person, please.
Yes, Papa, that would be me.
That's fine.
So it would be interesting to know that I started with Lighthouse when it was in its infancy.
Okay.
So I was a true pioneer member where it started from a scripture union, honestly. That's how it started. And Heward Mills was then in the medical school. And then, you know, he started toying around with the idea of, you know, starting a church. And then it kind of got into a point where we were meeting it started from a classroom, then it went to the Kolebu canteen. One of the things that I would say is that it was very motivational in the sense that he wasn't going to let up or let what others were saying about him stop him from pursuing that our calling. So from there, we moved to you know, I think his father passed away. He got some money. And so he wasn't depending on the church's money, that's for sure. Then I think the cinema was, I can't remember the name, Rexton or something at, now I can't remember the name. It's right across from the Kolebu. There was a cinema hall there that was bought. I'll remember the name of the neighborhood.
That's okay. That's okay.
That was bought and then started, you know, building the church, the first church building. And you know, from family support. And then you know, from there, now planting to different sides mostly was through individuals. I'll use myself as an example. So I used to worship at that center. If I remember the name, I'll say it. And then I was moving, when I finished Legon, I was going to work for Nestle at Tema. So there was one doctor in Tefu. I think now he's a bishop in Tefu. He was a medical doctor at the time. So, and then there was one Bishop Saki. He was then Pastor Saki. But I'm very close to the Pastor Saki. So when I told him I'm moving to Tema and everything, it was like, okay, go, let's start a church there. And then Dr. Intefo, you know, visited me a couple of times in my home in Tema. And then we started, you know, getting together. We looked out for, hey, you know, other people, other contacts. And then we started meeting actually, it was like a bar. But in the night, it's a bar. Sunday, we use it for church because it had an open arena inside of it. So Sunday morning, we'll go and change, arrange the chairs. This was in Community 1, close to the Community 1 car station, I would say. And so we will go there and then we'll start meeting. It didn't matter whether we were 3 or 4 or 5 for that day. One of the key things I would say is evangelism, in that sometimes we'll just break church, which is exactly what used to happen at the other main church around the Kolebu area. That's what exactly the same thing that happened. We'll stop church, and Dad will say, everybody go out into the neighborhood and go and talk to somebody about God and bring them to church. And then other times we'll be like, invite 1 or 2 people to church. And then seriously, when you come back to church the next day, he's going to ask, all those that brought somebody, get up. And you will see that the number is gradually increasing. Once people come to church, it is about how you treat your visitors, right? So the people that come, they are given a special reception after church. They are served, some refreshment for the new people that come to church. They are served refreshments. They kind of, there's an interaction. And then you are encouraged to join a church group. And there's a follow-up that happens. Somebody is going to reach out to you and call you and follow up. And then it was more like you need to have a friend in church, because that's what's going to bring you back, right? Somebody is going to be your buddy. So there's a buddy system that he would also use.
All right, let me pause here. You are taking my next model, and that will be church growth. So when we get to church growth, we'll need some of this information.
Okay.
Yeah, very powerful information, and I mean it, and you love it, because really we're going to work, and that is the architect of our what do you call it? The architect of our church growth, and it's so clear, and I can see from how you are bringing it how those churches grew. We'll go back to them again for church growth. I got your import about the church planting, which you did beautifully deliver, which means the church is planted based on 1, contact, and 2, proper relationship, okay, and follow-ups and evangelism. It was clear in your presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Look at how the whole thing started in Kolebu, back in school, started in the classroom, yet he never gave up. So every church, in the morning, we got very, very fine. Just like we are getting now. We got to know someone even brought Royal House Chapel, another person even brought Word Miracle Church. Just to add to whatever the research they did. And so we also got to know how the whole thing, about the 1979, 1984, looking at me. And somebody started the church, and for almost about 7 years, the membership was 70. The membership was 70, but still the person didn't give up. So we are also glad to hear from you. God bless you, my brother. God bless
you. Papa, the name is Kolegono.
Yes, Kolegono Lagoon. Kole Lagoon. Thank you so much. All right. Now, let's move to the next person, please. On my list is
it's me, Papa.
Yes, please.
Lighthouse Chapel International is one of the fastest growing churches in the world. The founder of the church is Daki Ward-Mills, a British-born evangelist. The church has a mission of building 25,000 churches in 150 countries, which they are doing in a very fast pace. And with my research, I spoke to one elder of the church in Worcester. I know her as Sister Afia, but I didn't want to put her full name there, so I just put her full there. She revealed to me that Lighthouse Chapel in Worcester was, I think, the third Ghanaian church to be established in Worcester. Now we have over 50 Ghanaian churches in Worcester alone. And I think that time, if I could remember, around that time, it was the Pentecost Church and the Adventist Church. Those were the two main churches that we had. Around that time, there were a lot of individual charismatic churches that were rising, but Lighthouse got in really early. And Stephen told me that anybody that works in the church is called a shepherd. And I mean, like, helps the church with doing things in the church, like cleaning and, you know, organizing the instruments and everything. It's called a shepherd. And she said most of these shepherds are trained to be lay pastors. And once they train them to be lay pastors, then they use them to plant churches. So in that of Worcester, he said a lay pastor called Pastor Brooke was brought from Ghana with his whole family to come and start the church in Worcester. He started by organizing a 3-day huge prophetic and miracle service with which, with one of the prophets from Ghana, of the church from Ghana. Sophia couldn't disclose the name of the prophet. She actually didn't remember the person, but she remembered how that started. He said the major thing was that contacts of all the people that attended the programs were taken and follow-ups were done. The follow-ups led to a Bible study and prayer meeting that was scheduled every week on Thursdays. As the number grew, the members pushed for them to have Sunday services, through which they used to establish the church in Worcester. The shepherds were trained to be elders to help Pastor Brooke. And as time went on, Pastor Brooke trained some of the elders to be lay ministers who he sent to other cities in Massachusetts to start other churches. One of these remarkable lay ministers is the minister that started the Boston church, which is on fire right now. And one of these trained lay pastors was Pastor Mark Taki, and who was later ordained to be Reverend Mark to take over the Worcester church, so that Pastor Brooke, now Reverend Brooke, could move to other states to plant more churches. Stefua told me that Reverend Brooke is currently in Florida, establishing more churches with the same, let's say, strategy that he used in Worcester. So he's moved to Florida with his family. And right now, Pastor Mark is Reverend Mark is taking care of the churches in Massachusetts, and they're planting more churches.
Okay.
They're probably...
Okay. Thank you, Evangelist. So let me pause and probe more further. Thank you. So it means that, am I supposed to understand that they have church planters? They have trained people as church planters? Because if I had the one who's moved to Florida, kind of the same person that went to Boston, is that right?
No, the one who is in Florida right now is the one that trained people, because he was trained in Ghana and they brought him here. And then once he got here and started, he trained people to be lay pastors, and he sent them to go and plant churches. So yes, I would say he's a church planter, and he trains people to go and plant the churches. So he trained a lot. I know they have one in Leominster, they have one in Webster, they have one in Boston, they have one in Framingham. So people.
So from your search, we're not so much chastising the church, but from your search, what do you think that your church should do? From your search, What do you think your church should do?
Worcester?
No. Your church, the church that you attend.
Presby? Oh, Papa.
Yes, sir.
Papa, you don't want to take me there, but
Oh no, you're a researcher. You're a researcher, so I'm picking you on your words. I'm picking you on the research you made. Yeah.
Because these strategies, I know we've spoken to them about. It is not just the training. Like I said, the training they gave was not only the training of the lay pastors. They made sure they trained instrumentalists also. They had somebody who they pay to train to play the instruments and the drums. So they play. When these people are going, when the church planter is going, the church planter is not going alone. The guy in Boston has succeeded because he went one, not by himself, because I had to write on the one in Worcester, but I kind of drift more
My
to
brother, it's okay. Let's not go there. Because in fact, anytime I come and then I make a transit in Boston, I ask myself, why? Why? Because my spirit tells me that Boston is a very flourished land for ministry. Flourished land for ministry. That I know one day God will send some of you there on this virgin land. Just go there, sit there, relocate there as a citizen of that land. To shock you how God will move that church. So as you rightly said, it will also appear in your search again for next week. That's the last search you're going to make. And so when it gets to you yourself, writing your final paper for how you establish your church, you will see that you come out with rich information. I'm telling you the truth. How you will establish your own church. So after next week, then yourself, next week one should be able to lead you directly. Oh, yeah, next week, then copy be a good chain for final a friend is saying paper that you make, a presentation that you make, that this is me, Evangelist Awuku-Gyampoh. This is how I want to establish my church. And it will shock you. God will surely do it. Of course, you can't out of 20, you have 3 persons who are so devoted to be church planters. I'm telling you, the church will have to be proud of them. I'm telling you. And Papa, I love the presentation. I love the style, how it happens. So there you can see that the ICGC, that was church, Lighthouse, they use giftings. They said they came for a crusade, they came with a prophet. Sometimes it is also appropriate that we will also appreciate giftings amongst ourselves. And your presentation also said that when they were going, they also went with instrumentalists. Oh, yeah, sorry, do baby. And confer a tonium, a boban, and you recognize your papa. A bassa so yeah, no so a kutia, a juman, because we have a tonium, or recognize you, to make us all mupa motonium, a damas. Oh, yeah, sorry, as a sort to share. As a sort to papa onto now we are serving now a tonium. You say, sir, who need ministry? You don't know ministry. The music ministry must be revered. The music ministry must be recognized and acknowledged. Say it's part of the ministry. Mama told you, my dear Papa, hey, session, Yankropa Yadma, Mommy Dream. By December, you be pamunta dear, I'm a more told you. Mama, when you got to paint, you got to do got to bit of cement if you go for. Now, what told no one, one pamata, dear Papa, and show more, and then the guy. If you don't want to organize, I can just organize. Was it scanio? Organize was the scanio. Then so you ever heard rock pavement. Oh, baby. And me now counts a young dream. A dream, the music aspect of what I bet on one say. I saw the baby, but I saw the music in him. As I saw Edeka. I'm telling you the truth.
Papa, I'm sorry, Dr. Ayossen's house, we have a comment.
Okay, Doctor, but your
Papa, now Ubisa Bibi na me person me comment on it kakra. Say, Omo use church planters. Yes, Omo use church planters. I'll give you a typical example. Guy Bakwa, menene ne ko the same secondary school. Or yeah, the name about Betty Virginia, sorry, Virginia. See our Lethbridge, Canada. But lighthouse maybe walk. They also use planters or move around to build churches or start up churches. Or Kokoshana say a see kakra. Now we hand you over ma obi awe training no move on.
My brother, Mr. Bebre, Mumfanko Enkinunkum, and Uremuya. I mean, Adnamuya, what we'll do is then once you finish, now for you compare proper materials to get like a background search on church planting where we can reference because article on Clarica, the committee that worked on, they gave me 14-page report, 14 page, and Ubian Sabeka reporting the annual sorry, and born in some committee. They did this. Just work on and you can't question it. They brought literature review. They just a powerful, a very powerful. We need a very good sermon. So moving so further to read books and other things. Some of the books now a year correct. We have to go back to the book again and check and reference it and all that. But yeah, because of say any peer review so much, some of them will reference it. Maybe share presentation on next week now, and the Amodia Bay crap or source or next week then especially. Go I will reference it. If I go back and I'll make sure say by the time my mobile ban not all videos are most more questioning my questioning it's more than branch questioning sana what be your presentation, right? Wow, another beautiful insight.
My comment that I wanted to say is that I mean, you give us Lighthouse, but personally, I had done this research a long time ago, and I wanted to know how the Pentecost is able to spread their tentacles that fast. So I went deep into the Pentecost church and I interviewed certain people to see how they planted churches really quick. And the strategy is simple. Usually friend is saying presiding elder, almost friend presiding elder. Some the on the preside. They make sure that person that they choosing as a presiding elder, that person is prayerful. That person can teach the word. No ma penyum to for bakwa kano. No ma pe organist bakwa kano. That is it, Papa. So if you look at all the churches that they planted, they have a presiding elder who is powerful in prayer and Bible teaching. They have one musician, one singer. They have an organist. Drums, but at least the keyboard alone. I looked at even only in Worcester, Pentecost has 3 assemblies. Only in Worcester, they have 3, 2, 3, and 1 English. Only in Worcester. They have Leominster, they have Webster, they have like almost all the cities around us. All the cities around Worcester.
Okay. Another revelation. But scribes, I call it scribes because I have used it as a job for. Monsan Fanto was perhaps our limitation, will be said for the sake of time, to me, and call a friend is saying Pentecost, but in our recommendation for further research, we recommend anyone that would want to research into this field can also look at the Church of Pentecost and how fast their church grows. We can add the staff to ours, but we'll be so fair to this researcher ethics and say that we recommend if someone also looks into Church of Pentecost, it's likely to complement what we have done here. And because when you say Church of Pentecost, people be very coffee very very common and far. Darkwood Mills, which I know what they do. And may some call social media until Pentecost wasn't so much frequent. And say there's some over 50 April on, I think they are picking up on social media seriously with their dancing and their songs. Yeah, they're dancing their songs. And that's another brilliant revelation. Thank you so much. My idea, Papa. Let's take the next one, please.
Patrol, next. Me to me, I share slides.
Okay. Let me make you co-host. Please do. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yo, Patrol, so Muhua Mumami Huna, me to me, I share.
Close to design side, no.
Oh,
close to design side. Oh, right. That'll be right. Top right.
Design ideas.
Yeah. Very good. Close in the house. Very good.
Okay.
That's right. I'm on Fabio.
Accra, which yeah.
My idea, Papa. My idea.
So 1 minute. Okay. Yo, Tino, two churches. First one near Lighthouse at Manassas, Virginia, Pastor Kobina Taylor. Now they started with 7 people. 7 people who have attended Lighthouse in Ghana. And then when they were in Manassas, they came together and said, why don't we start or plant a church here? So with that idea,
oh my God. 7 people. Let's go.
So with that idea, they started with prayer. In fact, he told me that the Lighthouse Church believes that before a church is planted, you should invest at least 100 hours of prayer. So they were meeting every Thursday evening on a nearby park to pray for 3 hours every Thursday for 1 month. So it was after this 1 month of prayer that they started going door to door in the neighborhood with tracts, and then anyone who welcomed them, they will say, can we pray with you? And then they will share their gospel with them. So gradually they started getting a few people, and then they started meeting in a members' living room. And as the numbers grew, they moved to a hotel, and now they have a more permanent place. But I focused on just this, how they started, how that church was planted. So briefly, that is what Lighthouse in Manassas did. And the next one is with ICGC. Glory Temple in Sterling, Virginia, Pastor John Forson. So they were already members of an ICGC church in Woodbridge, Virginia. And then in 2011, ICGC, the head office in Ghana, declared 2011 as the year of church planting. So every local should encourage church planting. So from their local, the pastor, Pastor Forson, who was a lay pastor in Woodbridge, was assigned to plant a church in Sterling, Virginia. And there were already some members of the parent church who lived in the Sterling area who were driving about 40 minutes to come to church. So he was able to get 8 of those. So John and his wife and 8 other members started, and they spent about a month surveying the area, and then they selected a hotel which was close to a member's house, because this member was going to help set up instruments on the day of service. And in addition to this, they started creating a strong online presence. They created a website page, they created a Facebook page, a church flyer that the pastor had on his personal Facebook page. And then one thing he shared, which was interesting, is that he searched for Ghanaians in the area. So you go to Facebook, you search, you put in the city, Sterling, Virginia, and then you don't put in any name, you just say Ghana. and then he pulls up all the people who identify as Ghanaians or who identify with Ghana in the area, and then he will send friendship invitations to all of them. And all those that replied, he will direct them to the church page. And then as they posted programs there, anyone who responded or showed interest, the pastor will send a personalized message to that person. So that is how they were able to plant the church, and the church grew. They started with 10, like I said, today they are about 80 members. And then the Lighthouse Church, they started with 7, today they have about 42 members. So that is what I have. I will pause here if anyone has questions.
Wow. Wow. I when I read it before, as we spoke behind the scenes, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. 100 hours of prayers. 100 hours of prayers. Isn't this amazing? So, in my presentation, I did say that prayer is part of it. And so, as you are going to listen and go to the last phase of your research, try to also note the point that they have also said there. So now you have the flair, as you have been to the field, that 7 members, they were still not disappointed. And the 7 could be that it was the man, the wife, and 2 children, making 4. And then they got 3 people, or maybe a family in addition, and they didn't give up. And you can see that they had the vision to expand the church, to plant the church. And so they did it. So this is a straightforward question. Let me ask you, as you were researching on this issue, what came into your mind about your church? What the church can do?
For me, the 100 hours of prayer, that was something new. And I mean, I looked at my own local when we planted it. We didn't devote that amount of prayer before starting. We were praying, and we continued to pray through, but we didn't just spend a month of prayer before planting the church. So that was an eye opener, that before we do anything, let's devote an hour of prayer. A month of prayer first before we even think of location and anything like that.
All right. Thank you. Just to inform you, the chairperson has said that we should have 24-hour non-stop prayer. And so all caretakers in training are on the program. All of you are on program. And it's going to be 24 hours non-stop prayer. So 20 hours, 20 of the hours are for the caretakers in training. So your program, you'll be the MC, and then the ministers will come and preach, and surely the prayer will continue. So it's going to be very great. The drafting is still there. Once it comes up by the close of the week, I'll let you know maybe the time, whether it suits the persons that we have given them to you or not. All right. Thank you. Just by the way, God bless you for that wonderful presentation. All right. Let's go to the next person, please.
Hi. In my research, so I spoke to 2 different people. So the first person from Lighthouse, his church, he was a caretaker of the church. His church was somewhere in Ghana, Adoso, Koforidua area. And he said that there is a book that that Lighthouse uses in planting a church. Said it's called the Mega Church, and there's another book on church growth. So first, he said you have to count the cost. You start small. He said he started small, and it's cheap, and you build up with time. He said his first day was only a few people that he started with, and that is not a problem. You don't have to, you don't have to think of becoming a full-time minister if the church will not be able to support you financially. And he also said that most of their pastors, they are lay pastors. They are not full-time. And you pray for pillars, and he supported it with Mark 1:6-17. You pray for God to give you pillars, and you lay a foundation of prayer. And he said that Bishop the bishop said that anytime that he wants to do something, he goes into 100 hours of prayer, and he supported with Luke 4. So you pray more, you seek the face of God, so God will direct you, and you shouldn't be in a hurry. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. You shouldn't be in a hurry to assign leadership roles to people. Study them first, pray about them, let it take some time before you assign leadership role to anyone. Because people come, it says like sheep, when you start as a shepherd, some of them will go, some of them will stay. It's the same as church. Some of them will come when you start and some of them will go. So you have to take your time, look at them, pray about them, see how they behave, then you know, okay, this person will be a pillar. This person will stay longer. And one thing he also said was he does visitation every Saturday. Every Saturday he will visit his members and they do follow up on new members too. And they do witnessing too. But what they do all the time, every Saturday, is the visitation. They do it all the time. They follow up on new members, but the visitation is done every Saturday. And for ICGC, person I interviewed, Bramford, he said that before you plant a church, before you be deployed to plant a church, they have like a district supervising minister, and they just don't send anybody. First of all, you must go through training from the Daniel Institute. ICGC have a Daniel Institute. You go through training, and you must also have kind of served your district supervising minister. He must know you, know who you are. They just wouldn't deploy anyone to start a church. And one thing he said was, he told me it's not everything that he can tell me into details. And he said, like, for example, the spiritual part, he didn't say his church, but he said some other churches. For example, he knows a church that sowed the seed to Yonggi Cho. So he spoke a little bit briefly about spiritual side. And he told me he can't go into details and tell me everything. But for what he said, so it was also similar to Lighthouse. There must be pillars of the church, people who will stay, people you look at, you know, yes, these people will support you. And also you kind of let them believe in you. You must be accepted by your members. You do visitation, you do counseling, you must interact more with members and also be prayerful. So this is what I was able to gather through my research.
Royal Papa, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. I was talking into the air. Thank you for the alert. So, as you're reading, I was just reflecting on books that I've read on church planting, and church planting is basically not in books, but the practical work that I have done, and I can just relate. And those that I've spoken to, I can just relate them. You did research, indeed. Thank you. I know Adoso very well. Yeah, so even in Adoso, they are doing very well. So as you said, they are committed to doing the work, and they just don't appoint anybody at all. But they make sure that the people they appoint are serious, just relating to all that have been said so far. I relate him. If you listen very well, and I know the scribes are noting the points that are running through, and they themselves will come out with the final findings, and we'll get to see. So thank you. Again, one thing that I realized, all the presentations you have made boil down to the fact that they have a manual. Very serious. You have a manual to planting the church. So you have to take it. Apart from the Bible, you have the manual, and then they go by the manual. You say, this is what we have, and this is what we need to go. I'm sure that we also need to start developing few manuals to the glory of God. I'm just today I try to figure out why the youth keep drifting from the church. It's another revelation. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So thank you very much, my brother. That has been a very powerful presentation today. You are blowing my mind. Very powerful research. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. let's go to the next person. We're almost done. We left about 2 people, I guess.
Okay, Papa. Next.
Yeah. So how many left? I think after you is the last person.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, after you. I think after you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
So yeah, so I interviewed one of their pastors, Pastor Nana Dankwa. He's in charge of the Bronx congregation, and right off he told me that the soul winning is the mantra of the church. That is what they do. So and then he said that they have training facilities in forgive me, Anapozu Bible and ministry training, and then Christian Mission Academy, where they train their leaders, to send them to go and open churches. So he is stationed in Bronx, New York, but he says, he and his wife decided that they want to open a church in Bridgeport, which is about I would say about an hour drive from where they are. So he said he fasted for 30 days nonstop with his wife, and he said the scripture that he used was Luke 14:28, and he said he wrote something on the paper while he was praying, telling God that he says, and I'm quoting him, he says, God, if I don't succeed, it is you who have not succeeded. Use me as instrument. So that was his prayer point for 30 days. And he says, at the end of that 30 days, he had a phone call from a friend that there was organizing a picnic in Bridgeport. So he and his wife just drove straight to the place. And so he started talking to people of planning, establishing that church over there. So after several hours there, he was able to get just two people who committed to joining him in opening the church. So he was, he lives in Bronx, but he was commuting 3 or 4 times in a week to come and meet these two people. So to pray with them. And then they started inviting people, to come and join them. And so they made flyers where they left at vantage points like, storefronts, and they evangelize also during the weekends. And he says he bore all the initial costs of, when they found a place, they started, when they find a place to worship, he paid for it because he says lay pastors are not paid by the church. So everything was he and his wife and, the people that got together helped him to do that. And he says that, so he started organizing, like prayer meeting, revival, inviting, people with flyers and stuff like that. And so gradually people started noticing the church in the area and joining. And he says usually when they are coming from New York, the wife will prepare food, from their own resources and come and feed the people. He got involved also with the community, through feeding people, homeless people, and then, making donations when necessary, especially like food cans and stuff like that. So he invested all these things into the church. And now he said the membership is, around 50 to 60. He wasn't very sure, but this started in 2017 that, he started to do this. So that was Lighthouse. With ICGC, I spoke to one pastor, Paul Dati. He was with the Bronx Church, the ICCG in Bronx. He was an associate pastor, but he said, he and his wife also decided that they want to open a church also in Connecticut, but they didn't know anybody. So they also prayed, and it took, about a year. They continued to pray for a year. They wanted God to show them a place, just lead them to a place. And it says eventually they landed in Manchester, Connecticut, through somebody that they knew, which his name was Dr. Asiedu. And so they took a leap of faith and moved, from New York to, come and start a church in Manchester. And, gradually through contacts of, Ghanaians in a community, they came together to form the church.
Okay.
They started with 4 adults in a school building, and by word of mouth, the number steadily grew. So
Okay.
that's it, Papa.
Okay. Thank you. That's a great research, and if someone has researched, you can hear from the presentation too. So yes, thank you so much for that. Painstaking work done. It's powerful. It's powerful. And the one that told you the story is also a child of God. But the person told you the basics. The person gave you a situation on the ground, and this is how it is. And it flows. You can see that there's nothing faked. Everything is natural. That's how it is. You think about how to start, whom to contact, how feasible is it? Whom am I going to contact? Who is the right person to get in touch with? And then he could tell you that they managed to get about 4, and that began it. And ukwa monokrom egropon ese amonokrom esuketwa eso edare esuketwa eso edare. And say de tie bia sorry bia wo mu bia say kesi o say yeketwa o ti ase ese edikanfo ni na sa no wo shase. And right papa men say utaba get in story mo shase ipa kakra bi almost shase eti friend is saying no so sa colleague on holy hanuma choko honuma no so omo na nam wa kakra anya omo ye eti friend is saying ajina sorry shase free isrim eye 77 be na 84 so wasa mi jane mra akra ojane ba ye oba akra na honso. A lot of people have done this ministry from lower level to a higher level, and we are proud of them for the roles that they have played. It is our duty to also continue where they left. And again, the next, it's also on program to look at church growth. Is also part of our models. And so once you have gone to do this, when it gets to church growth, you will not struggle at all, because we need to look at the element of church growth. What grows a church? What grows a church? Now, this is a practical teaching, and I say thank you so much. All right.
Papa, please, before the next person, I just want to comment on something that you. I think when, in the course of, speaking or interviewing these Pentecostal or charismatic church, what I realize is that the leadership trained them with that passion to go and do it. Unlike ours, where as we're going through this, and you have started something, so before they get out from their mission or something, that passion, that desire is already there for them to move it, and I think that is a very distinct difference that we encounter.
Because that's what, as I'm telling you, it all depends on the approach. We throughout African education,
Tradem na me come adwene nkyerɛ. Tradem na me come adwene. The passion no cry because the party to our church plant. And I say, okay, to plant the church, you have to do this. Onye na adwene so ko out to crack research about. E better not think about. Mukra ya research kakra yi ba no. Your spreads are up. Sorry, say, hey, Charlie, Masa, man need to do something. Or again, you are motivated because Charlie, and miss my idea because you're aquatic and so my family party. Through that, no, scientists, those friends, researchers, doctors, friends, medical practitioners, they are always proud of their work because they always research, because they always see the patient, they always talk to patient, so they always try to experiment and experiment and experiment. They be doctors, I'm discover. Say that my man musasle and then my fa we no count a friend say 443 and send the actually for manti. Mama we any part of my life. Settem diano. Sometimes we suffer cry. I sorry be our community me woman. Walk of our be dedication back of our. I don't need a them ho. At the end I will have been in me ho. Okay, me buy monument to say. Me buy okay, I'm preaching to say. Of reception so to say. Now wafa back and then can worry ya. What pick it back home. Now they call. But the whole community. I'm sorry we announce me see what that and the town. What the town. O man the ombeko dedication, ombeko yi. Omo bana unyama we no wa sorry na ya de echi or sa unhu ni bi. Sometimes appropriate. Because we be 10 minutes or crowd the cofa 10 minutes keke. Okwa. Uko nyina wani no e dandan said ya ope obi biafa. Usua biribi. And then you go back and do that. And that will be well treated in church growth. And we are all going to love it. We are going to thank you so much for that powerful presentation. Hey, Ejado, are you ready? If not, then we can pause here. Okay, and yes, I heard it. Yeah,
Papa, contribution,
yeah, that's fine.
I think it was evangelist, and one other person talk about instrumentalist. One thing that of late we should know is that church goes with music, and the music ministry is some place that a certain source say Maya being compa, especially who can see me many edgy pa, or more to more yasoromo, or more born training or yasoromo. Ye mo ye nin ko mo kra na ya die bia eno nso enya because any baby abeko bia no se be omobo entwene ne nwum abeba so yi mo frana de ye urade ye beba ye die no no entesa eno nti mentimi mbo se nkola na ni je ho se omobesu mpo omusu but wo kwa da die no so eyi nti bacho baby so ye yi ye nka ye nin ko ene ho bacho be dance.
Yo, thank you. And that is a very powerful thing. Now, another thing I usually don't do that. I come before I will leave my friends on YouTube and it's a what platform is na Obibia money so local copy book on church growth because if you want to be a catechist, then you should talk about growth. And you do next time you better pick church growth. Now we'll book because I want to see the book because some the book I'm not going to recommend any book. No. And then you book our damn fat so now better. No. Different. But when you book or some I want you to get the book the call Amazon. Can reviews. And before you buy the book, please try to read take a look at the review. At least there'll be others who are atheists and all that who give negative comment. But look at the consistency in the book review. The unconfactual number of a friend is saying stars are on the number of ones, number of fives, and look at the average. Say 4 point something and a 3 point something. A book that is below 3, don't go there. If you want a book review, pick a book that has +4 echo. Then read the reviews, then buy a book, order it, then be counts. Me say book counts, and counts. I know the day, what we'll do is say at the end of church growth, no books na a crowd in you be canning in album, in a be cabum. Na ba copy. You be kabook na book. Nipa 20 no be a book will be a be cabum. Na one book. Yes, a quacker to pass or there be points na a community. We're going to argue the points. So Biaka said you have to maybe bring good ushers. There are also book now crown, then a kafa ushers on. We book on, then a kafa ushers on, and no any friend literature review. SMS and on I sometimes a bit difficult, so between acquire practical could be converse. You have to do observation and who said that cosas or not when you will be culture won't appreciate but said that go for research actual book money so EBD and yeah, yes, theoretical review by looking at various literature that are in the system, and then if we are near draw table. Say, oh my car say, ushers a group church in here. Book A, book B, book C, book E, book F, book G. Now book F the one ushers and count. Again, so at the opinion, shema, you say ushers A, B, C, D, E, F. And because the air kind they have a manual. Any manual. Oh, it's for a beer. Ye had the opportunity to meet them. How then do they go out to grow their church? So you can see 1.5. How do we get the 1.5 million? How do we get it? Do we get it by the normal way that we do our church service? And that we need to bring in the element of mega church. This man has written a very great book. You get it alongside whatever preparation you want to make. The Purpose-Driven Church. Rick Warren. The Purpose-Driven Church. The Purpose-Driven Church. Aside all the Albanian, I highly recommend this book. I highly, the word highly recommend this book. Say, Bible no whole a good get purpose-driven church. And if you use some of the things inside that, another time now, Jimmy said, your church should stand out. Your church should stand. I mean, my cat said, Australia there maybe a mission. Na nyame adom bikonya krabi esan share the next time. That church without any argument should be a model church. No, it should be a model church. You just will come and learn something from it. You come and learn something from the church because it will you better yambo edim pabo atwenya menu masona ye model church. And we need a model church. That is what I'm praying for. So
Papa,
first, yes.
But you say book now recommend me a friend saying
Purpose-Driven Church. Purpose-Driven. Purpose by Rick Warren. Purpose-Driven Church. Purpose-Driven Church. And you must make your church a model church. Make your church a model church. And what makes a model church is what we'll be looking at, God willing, in our next class, which will be church growth. Our next model. Now, I'm not too sure when it's coming, but next model, which will be church growth. Make your church a model church. How do you make your church a model church? And only do what you may also me free Facebook, YouTube. Na afeno ya evaluation we